Okay. Who's been enjoying the heat? Just Paul. Zach, you been enjoying the heat? Man, God bless you. I've been on Claritin D the last week. You know what I mean? Just who got allergy problems in the heat last couple? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. All right, moving on to way more important things. Although I do love Claritin D. Woo, that stuff. When was the last time that someone served you in a way that caught you completely off guard? Like, those moments where you're like, man, they just did that for me? Like, whoa, that's special. Leela, Noel, which I saw Leela walk by. Where you at, Leela? There you go. Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on stage. We already went over that. You don't got to go on the stage, okay? If you don't know Leela, Noel, that's Leela right there, her husband Jerry next to her. They're really good friends of our family. We used to live in the same neighborhood, which I'll talk a little bit about here in a couple minutes. But one of the things about Leela that I was seeing about this past week is that, like, she is, like, the dream neighbor. Like, you want Leela as your neighbor. This lady's amazing. And there are two specific instances that I thought about as I was beginning to prepare my sermon on Wednesday about and how Leela is an amazing neighbor. And let me share two of them with you. One, we had found out, just from her sharing things with us, that in her old neighborhood, because they moved 4 years ago, but neighborhood just right up the street from here, they had these neighbors who were maybe like 60s, 70s, elderly, and they had gotten to know Leela really well. I think the husband had, take out their trash cans, put them away. They just develop an organic relationship, and they knew that, okay, hey, this lady's a nurse, she's an RN, husband's a neurosurgeon, so it's like, this is like the power medical couple. Like, if you ever need anything, just go to the Noels. Sorry, guys, but anyways. Like, literally, you go in their garage, and, like, Jerry's got, like, medical charts, like, up in the walls, and I was like, it's true, yes. And so this gentleman, I guess he was having some issues. They had Leela's cell phone number, and it's the middle of the night. He takes a fall, and I think at that point, the wife or someone thought maybe he's having a stroke. Long story short, they call Leela in the middle of the night, and she literally comes over, helps him, calls the paramedic, and off to the ER he goes. And that in of itself is quite unique and a lot of love and service on behalf, or Leela on behalf of them. But then she tells me that then even the weeks following that, and I think obviously for maybe a couple years, she's taking them to the hospital. She's taking him to his doctor appointments to check up on stuff. Just an amazing neighbor. Like, who does this? Like, this is incredible. So that was a while ago. Then about 4 years ago, they moved, which was, we were full of grief for that. Still sad about it, but anyways. And they moved to Glendora. Sure enough, Leela, neighbor extraordinaire, very tragic. There's a lady on their same street, I believe. This happened a year and a half ago. Her 39-year-old husband, who I believe is also a doctor, dies unexpectedly. And Leela is the neighbor and the type of person where she said she was just in like fetal position with that wife and that mom, crying with her. They had a little child who turned 5 the next day after the 39-year-old father and husband dies. And so Leela had shared with me that then after that, she would just show up to their house, knock on the door, sip coffee with this mom. Leela would just show up, do laundry for them, just show up and take their 2 young kids for a walk, just show up and make this mom grilled cheese. That was her favorite thing, and let her just stay in her room and take a bath while she would watch her kids. Why do those moments, those acts of service, stay with us? Why am I talking about those right now? I think in most ways it's because sacrificial service is rare. And not just service, but sacrificial service is rare. You and I, we live in a world that I think in a lot of ways teaches us to ask this: who's going to serve me? Who's going to serve me? Have you ever noticed that it seems like our culture orbits around a question that is basically this: what's in it for me? What's in it for me? So every advertisement tells you that you deserve more. Every algorithm feeds you what you think you want and need. Every political campaign it says, oh, this person, this campaign, whatever it is, will make your life better. Our culture trains you to become a bigger and better consumer before it teaches you how to become a contributor. You are conditioned to ask, who's going to meet my needs, who's going to serve me, and who's going to make my life easier? But while our culture asks, who's going to serve you? Jesus of Nazareth shows up in first century Galilee and says, actually, what you should be asking is, who can you serve? Whereas Matthew 20:28 summarizes the life and the ministry of Jesus of Nazareth. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. So for our anchor passage this morning, I want us to turn to John. John is the fourth book, the fourth gospel in the New Testament. John's biography of Jesus of Nazareth. And John was actually one of Jesus's disciples, a close friend of his. We'll be in chapter 13. If you need a Bible this morning, page 736, and the Bible is underneath your chairs. And as you turn there, know this. I had never, I'm taking us to a familiar passage, but I had never thought about this. So this passage is the night before Jesus dies on the cross, which means this: Jesus knows he's going to die the next day. Like, what a scary thought. If you knew you only had 24 hours to live, what would you do? And that's Pastor Mike, our new youth pastor. Chick-fil-A, if you didn't hear him. But if someone asked you that question on Saturday, you couldn't do that. Chick-fil-A's closed on Sundays. Anyway, you have 24 hours left to live. What would you do? And now, it's not the question of, like, because sometimes people ask, like, oh, if you have a week left or a year left, like, what would you do? And you got all the answers like, oh, I go to, Fiji, I go skydiving, you do all the adventurous stuff, risky stuff that you wouldn't normally do. Now, that's not what I'm asking. It's like, you only got 24 hours left. What are you going to do? And I think, like, the logical, serious answer to that question is you probably would gather your closest friends and family. You'd give final instructions. You would try to the best of your ability, prepare them for what's coming. And Jesus does do all of those things. But before Jesus gives this sermon, before he institutes communion, this practice that billions of people will do for the next thousands of years, before he goes to the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus grabs a towel. Jesus grabs a towel when he knows he's got 24 hours left. And I think that tells us something profound. Because sometimes the greatest sermon isn't preached. It's practiced. Maybe not even sometimes. I think the greatest sermon isn't necessarily preached, it's practiced. So let's dig in. John 13, starting at verse 3. Here we go. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. And so he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and here it is, wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin, and he began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And he came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand." And here's the Peter that we know. "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." No, sit down and shut up, Peter. That's the Mark Lohman translation, okay? To be clear, Jesus did not say that. "The Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Go down to verse 12. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I've done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightfully so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. And now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." Now, first century roads were very, very dirty. Like, they don't have paved asphalt or concrete, all this kind of stuff. And it's not just that they were filled with dirt, but I mean, you got animals there. And people wore sandals, they didn't wear shoes. And I'm not talking about sandals like Birkenstocks or, rainbow sandals. No, they're kind of like very basic first century sandals. And it would be an understatement to say that feet became filthy after walking through dust and mud, and I'll just say it in a nice way, animal waste. It just sounds so nice, right? Ain't no socks. There's no nail clippers. And there ain't no pedicures. Now, something I talk about with Rachel here and there, should guys get pedicures? Who said that loud? Absolutely. Oh, Kathy, you would say that. Bryant, how many pedicures have you had? Oh, wow, this is great. I could do so many things with this right now. Okay, besides Kathy and Brian, raise your hand if you're a guy and you've gotten a pedicure. Well, hold on, Arcella. I'm getting there next. Loud and proud. There we are. That doesn't surprise me either, Hector. This guy is an ex-baseball player. This guy's still getting pedicures. I've actually seen it on your Instagram, I think. Okay. That's how you follow Pastor on Instagram. I see what's going on, what you post. Okay, which one of your wives here, who you want your husband to do a pedicure? Raise your hand. Oh, we're getting to that a little bit. We're getting to that in a little bit. Wave it around like you just don't care. I have not gotten a pedicure yet, but maybe by God's grace, I'll be doing that soon. I'll love it. 15-minute massage. Man, 11 a.m., we're a little rowdy this morning. I got to focus. Here's what I'm here to tell you. In the first century, pedicures don't exist, but hospitality did. And it was such that when a guest entered a home, water was normally provided and a servant would wash the guest's feet. And it was because of this that foot washing was considered the lowest household task. It literally was a dirty job. It was the chore that nobody wanted to do. So like if you think doing laundry is bad, if you think taking the dishes out of the dishwasher is bad, which I always get frustrated. I mean, we have modern dishwashers, and sometimes they don't even clean the dishes right. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Anybody? Thank you. 2 people. Mowing the lawn, it's like 98 degrees outside. If you think those things are bad, that's got nothing on foot washing in the first century. And in fact, it was so bad, so lowly, that Jewish servants were actually exempt from performing it. And they would make Gentile slaves to do this low-ranking chore. Now, notice, how does verse 3 start? How does John set the scene? Well, he sets it this way. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, meaning John intentionally reminds us of who Jesus is. Jesus has all authority. He's got all power. He's got all glory. Everything belongs to him. Jesus made your toenails before pedicures were needed. And what does the King of Kings do with unlimited authority? He washes feet. Imagine the room. Everyone walks in wearing sandals. Roads are dusty. A donkey's got to do what a donkey's got to do. Feet are filthy. Normally, the lowest servant would wash everyone's feet when they come in, but apparently nobody volunteered. And to throw on that, we know this from Luke's gospel. Man, you got the disciples in this scene right now. They are arguing about who is the greatest. No one wants the lowest job. Now, if I was in that room at that point, here's what I would do. Oh, I got a headache right now. I need to go upstairs to go get some Motrin. Or you know what? I think someone's calling me. I don't got a call, but I'm going to fake like I got a call. So I got to, you know what? Let me go to the dryer right now. I just heard it go off. I want to make sure I get the clothes out, fold them nice before they set in and get wrinkled. I wouldn't want to be in the scene because no one's washed the feet yet. And so the question is like, well, who's going to do it? Not Jesus. Jesus stands up, wraps a towel around his waist, pours water into a basin, and he begins washing his disciples' feet. Just imagine the silence. And you got Peter who's like, Jesus, stop. This is backwards. What are you doing? Exactly. The kingdom of God is backwards. And Jesus redefines greatness because greatness is not measured by how many people serve you. Greatness is measured by how many people you serve. In other words, love gets low. How low can you go? Jesus has all authority, and he picks up a towel. The one with the highest position chose the lowest job. The disciples are arguing over greatness, and Jesus demonstrated greatness. Love doesn't climb ladders. Love kneels. The kingdom of God is upside down. The greatest person in the room is the servant, and the greatest neighbor is the one who serves. The one who loves where they live loves to serve their neighbor. You know, it's really a conversation and a game and a challenge between a towel and a crown. It's a towel versus a crown. One pastor said, everybody wants to wear the crown. Very few people want to carry the towel. Most people reach for the crown. Jesus reached for the towel. The towel always comes before the crown. See, Jesus teaches us that influence, we have now assigned an identity to people that we call influencers. Jesus teaches us that influence ain't about the crown. It's about the towel. Love in God's kingdom always begins with this. So here's what we've looked at so far in this series. We're in week 4 Next Sunday is the last one. We've used this acronym. If you were here the first Sunday or so, we handed out this little handout. The idea was for you to write in the names of your neighbor. And then you flipped it around on the backside, and there's this acronym BLESS. So here's what we've done so far. The B, begin by praying. So I said, hey, can you just start praying for your neighbors and pray for them by name? If you don't know their name yet, then go get to know their name. Next thing is, why don't you just listen to your neighbors? So pray for them, then start listening to them. Be in conversation, ask them questions. Don't worry about giving answers, just listen. And then actually the best way to listen to someone is just to eat with them. Pray, listen, eat. And now we come to the S, serve. And the very biblical logic to it is this. Once you start praying and listening and eating with someone, you will very naturally, I would assume, get to know their needs. And when you truly know your neighbor's needs, you can, at that point, begin to serve them. The Son of Man, Jesus, did not come to be served, but to serve. See, in the scene that the disciples were together at a meal, they would have walked past right each other. They would have seen the dirty feet. They would have, no one cleaned my feet. And Jesus noticed. He noticed. Most opportunities to serve your neighbor are actually hidden inside everyday, ordinary inconveniences. Like washing someone's feet. So here's the first thing I want to ask you this morning. What needs do your neighbors have? What needs do your neighbors have? Let me just go through a couple examples. Are your neighbors a single parent? Are your neighbors an elderly couple? Are your neighbors a new family? Are your neighbors an overwhelmed mom? Are your neighbors a lonely widow? Are your neighbors a student who's away from home? Because part of loving where you live, loving your neighbor, as Jesus famously put it, is taking the initiative to love them by serving them. See, Jesus took the initiative here in this story. Jesus, he wasn't asked to wash their feet. No, Jesus took the initiative to serve. He did not wait for an invitation, he created one. Many of us, I think, wait for ministry opportunities. Jesus created and pursued service opportunities. So what would happen if every single one of us here adopted the mindset and the posture of Jesus, of what he exemplifies here, and for our neighbor, we picked up their trash, we mowed their lawn, we watched their kids, we brought dinner, we drive someone to the airport, of course not LAX, but Ontario. Babysit, change a tire, help move furniture, bring groceries over, invite people over, all very simple acts, but high kingdom impact. Now, one of my immediate neighbors, literally right next to him, his name is Kasim. And Kasim, over the years, has been one of the most loving neighbors to us. In fact, I tell Rachel all the time, I think this guy is probably actually the most loving neighbor I have ever had. And it's not because Kasim has done something extravagant for us and, took us on some crazy vacation or gave us tons of money or whatever the thing is, right? No, none of that's happened. But Kasim has served us in some ways that were so inconvenient for him. Let me give a couple examples. He has picked us up late at night from the airport. That's how you know your neighbor loves you. Kasim, he noticed, this is probably a couple years ago, our address sign, the numbers, whatever, above the garage door didn't work. And, he also, he knows me well enough, Mark can't fix that. Absolutely, I can't. So Cassim on his own took the initiative, didn't even say anything to us. Took the initiative, went out, and bought the light bulbs at Home Depot to go fix it. During COVID, whenever Cassim shopped for himself, again, without telling us, without asking, whatever, whenever he would buy toilet paper and Clorox wipes, he bought like double, come home, and he would give them to us. Now, I just got to say, 2020, what a year. You know what I mean? Like, I think about like 20 years from now, when the education system updates their history books and little kids are learning about, 2020, they're like, see a picture in the history book of like a neighbor giving their neighbor toilet paper. It's like, what the heck? Well, that was 2020. You know what I mean? Like, the most loving thing you could do is to get your neighbor Clorox wipes and toilet paper. What a time to be alive. Now, I'm not preaching on this or passionate about this just so that we can be a bunch of good religious neighbors. No. That's actually not the point. I'm not saying this like, oh, you know what, yeah, I should serve my neighbor. It just makes me feel so good. Like, I get all warm and fuzzy inside, and, I'm a good person. I helped out my neighbor. You know what? Why don't I post about it on my Instagram so that everyone else can see, like, oh, man, what Susie, she's a great neighbor. Nah, that's not why we're doing this. There's something much bigger going on here. Love points beyond itself. We don't serve our neighbors because we're amazing. We serve our neighbors so that they see Jesus. Jesus says in Matthew 5:16, in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds, and here it is, and glorify your Father in heaven. Good works become windows to go out and see something. People don't just need kindness. I think people do need kindness, but people don't just need kindness alone. They need the king behind the kindness. Service earns a hearing, but the gospel gives the hope. 1 John 4:19. We love because he first loved us. We aren't just loving where we live for some cool social campaign. We aren't just loving our neighbors, serving our neighbors just to be good moral people. No. We love where we live, and we love our neighbor and serve our actual neighbors because it's a gospel moment. Jesus didn't just wash dirty feet. He went to the cross for dirty hearts. At the Last Supper, Jesus took the towel, yes, but the next day he took the cross. The greatest act of service wasn't washing feet. As great as scandalous it was giving his life. Our serving, our loving flows from his serving and his loving. We love because he first loved us. This is why at the end of this climactic scene of Jesus washing his disciples' dirty feet, he says this in verse 14. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Because I have loved you, love others. Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. So here's what I want us to do at this point in our summer initiative series, and I'm describing it as a summer initiative very purposefully. This is an initiative, which means this is something to do, not just something we're talking about. No, this is an initiative to do. And so I want to invite you into a practical challenge for this morning. I like challenges. I'm competitive. If someone challenges me, like, all right, I'll take you up on that. Love where you live challenge. Love where you live challenge. And here's what I want to invite you into. This week, serve your actual neighbor in one practical way without expecting anything in return. Now, not your child's teacher, not the barista that you always see at Starbucks. Great people. Please serve them. But I'm talking about your actual neighbor. This is the challenge. Now, it might be a little culturally weird if you wash your neighbor's feet. So what I'm not saying is you need to go wash your neighbor's feet. Now, if you need to do that, whatever, okay, great. I think it's important, there's some, what theologians call hermeneutics here, which just means how do we interpret the Bible. And so first century foot washing is very different tone and stuff than in 2026 now. But I think the principle is this: how can we serve someone in maybe a way that is an inconvenience to us that demonstrates true humility? This is the heart of Jesus. This is what he's going on. So let me just, again, give some just very quick, modern, practical examples of maybe how we can wash our neighbor's feet, so to speak. Wash someone's car. Pull some weeds. Mow their lawn. Write encouraging cards to them. Take in or out the trash cans. Babysit for exhausted parents, fix a broken sprinkler, bring them groceries, help someone move, help them with home repairs. You get it, and on the list goes. Don't overcomplicate it. What are their needs? And just serve your neighbor in whatever practical, loving way possible. Now, sometimes people, even sometimes churches will do this thing, they'll call it, you've probably heard this before, like random acts of kindness. I was thinking about this past week. I actually don't like that phrase. This shouldn't be random. Random acts of kindness. I think a better thing, and maybe being a little too theologically astute here, but I think we should call them previews of the kingdom of God. It shouldn't be random stuff. No, we should be offering previews. You want to see Jesus? You want to know what life in the kingdom of God is like? Yeah, here's what it's like. That ain't random at all. Previews are intentional. They give a foretaste. So, just imagine, like every person here at the bridge, we are serving our neighbors this week, and of course beyond. Not to check some religious box, like not to post it on Instagram, not to feel better about yourself, no, but simply because Jesus has loved you. He loves you. You want to pass that on to someone else. Imagine tons of driveways where someone unexpectedly finds their lawn mowed. Imagine dozens of meals being delivered. Imagine widows having repairs completed. Imagine overwhelmed parents actually getting one night to breathe. Imagine conversations beginning because someone asked, hey, how can I help you? That is actually how neighborhoods can begin to change. I don't think neighborhoods can truly change through bigger church events. A bigger, better church building, all that stuff's great. I actually think the real way to change is through hundreds of acts of ordinary ways to serve that are filled with extraordinary love. Which brings me to some history. The early church in the first century changed the Roman Empire. Without microphones, without social media, without political power. Oh, that the church would know, you don't need to make things better in our country unless you have political power. No. Why don't you start with loving your neighbor? The early church loved and served people so radically that the Roman Empire couldn't ignore them. The greatest apologetic for Christianity today is not having better arguments or bigger, better church buildings, political power. I think it's by becoming a better neighbor. And here's why. People will often forget what you preach, but rarely will they forget how you love. Which brings me back to Leela. Leela, over 10 years ago, was every day serving this elderly couple and taking them to the hospital, calling the paramedics. And, unfortunately, they moved away 4 years ago to a new neighborhood. But what Leela shared with me, she sent me this little video about 3 days ago, is that every single holiday, that same elderly couple that they moved away from 4 years ago, every single holiday sends a card in the mail thanking them. Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays. And just, if you're suspicious of preachers who exaggerate things, sometimes I am, here's a little video that Leela sent me, literally of a couple of the cards that they had sent her.
These are the cards that they send. Never thought they would, and they're all pop-ups. My kids love them. This is another pop-up one. And I have a stack of them. He just sent Jerry's Father's Day one. Jerry has his next to his sink. They're just the sweetest people. Yeah, and they even this last 4th of July left us a bunch of 4th of July fireworks, and we text often. So, it goes to show, 10, 15 years later, I never thought these people would be a part of my life, but neighbors are very, very, when you invest in them, you're there for one each other in ways you never knew.
So here's what I want you to do this week. I want us to be like Jesus and pick up the towel. And I actually mean that right now. Look under your chair, there should be a towel. Now, some of you in the middle may not have a towel, but we got people in the back, ushers with towels. Raise your hand if you don't have a towel underneath your chair. Does anybody not have a towel underneath their chair? We got the most joyful person alive, Mark Arias, handing out towels right now. And if you know Mark, that dude is the most joyful person I know. Okay. And actually, I want us, let's all just do what Mark did. I want you to wave these towels around. Come on. There we go. It's like a sporting event. Okay. Hey, you guys were much better at 9 a.m. 9 a.m., I have people, guys, you got to raise those towels up. Okay, stop. Now, I want you to take these things home today as a physical, symbolic reminder to serve your neighbor. Now, it's not about the towel. Sorry to say, but these things cost 24 cents each. They're cheap. Some of y'all are going to throw them in the trash can. Some of you are going to get in your car, you're going to blow your nose with them. That's fine. But I know from a communication lens that by you taking something home physically, it will stick with you. And I hope you do blow your nose with it. And I hope you do leave it in your car so that a week from now, you'll see it again and be like, oh yeah, that dude said that I need to serve my neighbor. Yes, exactly. This is the point of it. So take this home and wave it around like you just don't care, as they said. Now, it's not about the towel. It's about what this towel symbolizes. We want to be a church that does what Jesus did. What did Jesus do? He picked up the towel and served others. We want to love where we live, and we know that people will know that we love them by the way that we serve them. Reach for a towel instead of reaching for the crown. This is what Jesus did for you. So may we, like Jesus, walk across the street and meet a need, to love where you live. Because here's the deal. Every act of humble service whispers the same message. This is what Jesus is like. This is what Jesus is like. Jesus picked up the towel. This is what he did for you, for me. And we want people to know that. And you never know. The neighbor that you serve today could become in the future the brother or the sister that you worship beside one day. You don't know. And that is also not in our control. But it is in our control to pick up the towel and to serve our neighbor. I want to invite up the worship team, our prayer team on both sides. We're going to go into a time of worship. And, I would suspect that maybe for some of us, maybe you are the person who picks up the towel metaphorically, right? And you just serve, and you feel exhausted. I get that. And, here's my prayer for you this morning. That the Lord would fill you with an increased amount of his love. Because when it comes down to it, you cannot really ultimately, in a sustainable way, love others and serve others unless you first receive the love and grace of God yourself. Otherwise, it becomes forced and you will break down. And so when we serve, we have to first remind ourselves, man, Jesus served me. Jesus washed my feet metaphorically. Man, I want to get a hold of that love first, because when you get a hold of it, then it will naturally pour out of you. So whatever you need prayer for this morning, come up, get prayer. Let someone else serve you maybe. Let someone else pray over you and for you. Could we all please stand? Spirit of God, minister to us afresh. Jesus, would you entrench in our hearts that you are the God who took on humanity and you came to serve and not to be served, but you have served us all and our lives are radically different as a result. May this church, may we be known as people who serve, not because we want anything in return, but because we've had such a radical encounter with your love. And it has changed everything about us. Give us that love. Fill us anew. Come, Holy Spirit.